From frankly ridiculous springboard assaults to finishes that almost guarantee a significant injury at some point down the line. You won't catch wrestlers doing these moves anymore, and it's really not hard to see why. I'm Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 wrestling moves wrestlers refuse to do anymore. Number 10. Kevin Owens' Steenalizer. The former Kevin Steen has shifted through a couple of finishers since officially landing in World Wrestling Entertainment back in 2014. Relying heavily on his pop-up powerbomb, more on that later, in the early days to get the job done before more recently using the stunner made famous by Stone Cold Steve Austin as his go-to match ender. But before he went by the name of Kevin Owens, the former Universal Champion had another destructive weapon in his arsenal that would frequently leave his opponents staring up at the lights when all was said and done. Yet, while his trademark Steenalizer was devastatingly effective, it was also a move that could have potentially led to disastrous real-life consequences for the poor soul on the receiving end of it. As Owens admitted himself, the fact that he had a couple of close calls when using the move on the indies led to him feeling as though the package fall-away piledriver into the corner needed to be retired once he set foot in WWE. Sure enough, we've never seen KO use said signature under the WWE banner, and we likely never will. Number 9. Mustafa Ali 054. Quickly making a name for himself in WWE whilst performing under the often overlooked 205 Live lights, Mustafa Ali soon found himself being called up to the likes of Raw and SmackDown on the back of epic high-flying showcases against the likes of Cedric Alexander and Buddy Murphy. One of Ali's more eye-catching weapons to implement whilst in the midst of battle was his one-of-a-kind inverted 450 splash, or the 054 as it's also known. When asked on Twitter exactly why the former Retribution leader opted to scrap his 054 splash, Ali replied with a simple yet understandable answer: "I want to be able to play with my grandkids one day," perfecting a Koji clutch submission as his new way of earning those all-important W's in the squared circle. It looks like the days of a high-flying conclusion to Ali's matches are well and truly over. Number 8. Matt Hardy Event Omega. Matt Hardy's struggles with injury have been well documented over the last few years, with the AEW man even taking to Twitter a few years ago to reveal that his lower back and pelvis had begun to fuse together. Yep, that did not sound good at all. And while a career filled with insane risks and brutal ladder matches was always going to result in some long-term after effects, it appears one move in particular is most likely to blame for his pain towards the back end of his career. A move which saw Jeff Hardy splash an opponent whilst his brother simultaneously landed on them with a leg drop. The Event Omega is something that Matt feels was a major factor in his lower back troubles in later life. With the two currently performing in separate promotions and both men not being in a rush to take unnecessary damage at this stage in their careers, you can all but guarantee we won't be seeing the Event Omega ever again. Number 7. Rob Van Dam Double Underhook Suplex. RVD would often utilize a double underhook suplex during his days in ECW and the many other promotions he frequented pre-Land of the Giants. So why did Mr. Monday Night suddenly decide to strip this clearly lethal slam away from his offense? As revealed by the former WWE and ECW champion years later, RVD decided to drop his suplex after realizing that it would come across as a much more spectacular alternative to Triple H's pedigree. And he's not really wrong, is he? Not wanting to upset the game, he is a sensitive soul after all, Van Dam moved on from the move the minute he set foot in WWE back in 2001. It's also worth noting that next to no one enjoyed taking said move either. Number 6. ZACK RYDER 450 Splash. Back when he was more interested in shouting "woo woo woo" instead of forcing indie fans to unanimously scream out "F you," ZACK RYDER decided to rise to John Cena's United States Championship Open Challenge on the May 25th, 2015 edition of Monday Night Raw. Ryder pulled out all the stops, including an insane 450 splash off the top rope. However, this all-or-nothing attack seems to have left a sour taste in the star's mouth, evidenced in his response to a fan recently unearthing his rare use of the maneuver on Twitter. Getting straight to the point, Matt Cardona's response of "never again" tells you all you need to know about his feelings towards the flipping splash. Though the fact he ultimately failed to connect with Cena upon unleashing his version of the move is likely another reason he's in no rush to dust it off again. Number 5. Cesaro UFO. Cesaro Cesaro and Seth Rollins stole the show on night 1 of WrestleMania 37, with the former Ring of Honor stars putting on a true showcase of supreme athleticism. It was the Swiss Superman's decision to whack out one of his old favorites that had those in attendance unashamedly begging for more. However, those angling for the SmackDown star to reinstate the UFO as one of his routine signatures may be left feeling a bit disappointed going forward. According to the freakishly strong performer himself, it's called UFO for a reason. You don't see those every day, right? It has to be special. After waiting 9 years and for one of the largest stages in recent wrestling history to treat WWE fans to his spinning backbreaker with no hands, the chances of the King of Swings UFO taking off again in the near future are slim at best. Number 4, Nikki Bella Rack Attack. Now, it may have been quite some time since either Bella actually threw down in the middle of the squared circle. However, rumors have recently been swirling that despite both giving birth in August of last year, the now WWE Hall of Famers are gearing up for a return later on in the year. So with that in mind, now feels like as good a time as any to discuss exactly why Nikki Bella hasn't been spotted punishing foes with her once tried and tested Rack Attack during her last run in the company. The former Divas champion picked up many a victory with her Argentine backbreaker drop from 2013 to 2015. Yet when Nikki went down with a neck injury in 2015, it was reported that the star performing this finisher night after night was largely to blame for her eventual neck troubles. It was also said that doctors advised the Total Bella star to refrain from using the move upon her comeback to in-ring action. So when Nikki did finally make her long-awaited return in 2016, it came as little surprise to see that she'd spent her time away working on a new, less strenuous Rack Attack 2.0 finisher. Number 3, Seth Rollins Pedigree. For the duration of Rollins' time using the game's trademark double underhook facebuster, it always felt as though the architect was being overshadowed by his authority ally. And despite being an unquestionably talented performer, Rollins just couldn't deliver the move with the same ferocity as the force behind NXT. Rollins clearly agreed as he revealed to the Mirror in 2017, "At the end of the day, I want to be my own performer, and I want to have a finisher that is synonymous with me, not my mentor." One random pedigree at Clash of Champions 2019 aside, it now seems as though the star has fully moved on from his time paying tribute to the cerebral assassin. Number 2, Jeff Hardy 450 Splash. Jeff Hardy has turned throwing caution to the wind into a career choice over the course of the last 30 years, so you'd be forgiven for assuming that no move is off limits for the charismatic enigma. But you'd be wrong, as the former world champion has gone on record to state that he refuses to perform one specific high-flying act ever again. While speaking on the Art of Wrestling podcast in 2017, Hardy admitted, "I stopped doing the 450 because I over-rotated and jacked my shoulder up." On top of being the third person on this list to kick a 450 splash out of their repertoire, Jeff also isn't in a rush to pull off another shooting star press during the remainder of his time as an active performer. Seeing as though the 43-year-old is still happy swanton bombing off of ladders on WWE television, it's safe to say nobody will be clamoring for him to restore either of those undoubtedly hazardous weapons to his moveset anytime soon. Just wrap the man in cotton wool, damn it. Number 1, AJ Styles shooting Styles press and spiral tap. Unfortunately, time just waits for no man, and Styles has openly admitted that while he'd love to be able to let rip a few of his greatest hits from years gone by, there's a very real risk he could do some serious damage to himself if he were to attempt some of those moves in a WWE ring today. He stated as such during a Twitch stream in September, saying, "One move I'd like to bring back is the shooting Styles press. I'm just afraid I'd hurt myself doing it. I'm not a young cat anymore. Same deal with the spiral tap." Shooting Styles press and spiral tap or not, the once-in-a-generation performer can still wrestle rings around just about everyone on the Monday Night Raw roster. They don't call him phenomenal for nothing. And that's our list. Know of any other wrestling moves wrestlers refuse to do anymore? Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for clicking on this video today, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye!